I acknowledge Queen Tai, who dedicated a stele to the Sphinx, which she placed in the temple built by her husband near the great statue. One thing, it's not that we don't have the technology. Coming up to the hot time, to the drought time, and you're going to be hearing lots of conversations about who no have no water, where them no have no water, how them no have no water. But we've been having some serious rains, and we watch that water just tumbling upon the road without drains, tumbling through the rivers, just tumbling into the oceans. The whole thing is just politics, and they make water. When they give you a black drum, they make it look like that patronage is the best thing that they could have done for you. Those people who you've...
One Uptown TV. Yo, enough there, me I represent. Bang.
Being representing a man for Uptown TV.
Bad we bad, Gaza, bad we bad. Bad we bad, Gaza.
The war is still going on. Slavery is still going on in a different form. And I've said that I'll spend some time to have that conversation. If it's all a service industry, have you gone to a hotel in Jamaica in recent times? Have you seen what they're doing? Lined up in maid uniforms with towels over their arms, stand up with bottle of water, with kettle for tea and bottle of water and teapot and so on, line up while white people eat and so-called tourists. Afraid of their shadows because if them slip, them miss and them lose them job. With this plantation system called tourism in Jamaica. It's not for the people of Jamaica. And you can take that to the bank. Allowed to come into Jamaica through globalization. Well, the one thing about technocracy that is unfolding on us, business of things. Weeping, some collapsed, some were beating the drums of Nyabingi in jubilation. It's limited to Jamaica. His Imperial Majesty the Emperor Haile Selassie also visited Trinidad and Tobago, and he also visited Haiti. I know that there's been some conversation as to whether or not he went. Repatriation remains for Rastafari. Wealthy private sector elites are cashing in big time. High-tech greenhouses and international trade deals. They have paperwork, unless they own property, unless they have house and land. And that is out of the reach for most grassroots communities. And Rastafari, who have been disenfranchised for so long, they talk about wellness, they talk about therapeutics and innovation, but not about reparations, community empowerment, or Rastafari. Ganja, alive through the decades of persecution, be excluded from its economic fruits. 7 o'clock, you're inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running Africa, and massacred Rastafari, beginning at Coral Gardens, extending throughout the 14 parishes of Jamaica. It was a vicious time. It was a bloody time. It was dangerous time. And so this period, to the police, its own people. And even today, 59 years after the visit of His Imperial Majesty the Emperor Haile Selassie, political support if needed, and they don't need that because they've got that within Rastafari to cultivate and distribute ganja on their own terms, not charity and not compensation. Percentage of ganja cultivation and retail licenses go exclusively to Rastafari cooperatives. Bobo Shanti, Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, Nyabingi, School of Vision, 12 Tribes of Israel, and all orders, Nyabingi orders, and all elders people who have carried this tradition from the beginning of time until now, to be redirected to support Rastafari schools, Rastafari farms, and healing centers. Do you understand what I'm saying? This fund should be managed by Rastafari, not government-appointed cronies. Not have more access to this sacred plant than the people who used it when it was illegal and criminalized, period. The regulatory process must reflect cultural as well as commercial rights. Not just a product. It's part of liberation theology. Rastafari made it a movement of liberty. The world owes a debt to Rastafari, much less Jamaica. Not just as users, but as rightful leaders in this industry. The system remains unjust. It is an unjust justice system. The investors, the technocrats, I say this. Prophets who prophesied its power. You can't commodify the plant and criminalize the people who dignified it. Is for the healing of the nation. Rasta says so. Long time, before time, and the injustice that we're witnessing cannot be tolerated. Line. He's a chairman of DOC and he's a naturopathic and herbal doctor. You know him as Jabi. I call him Dr. Jabi because that's what he is. And we're going to be talking to our very special guest in this segment of the program about the Caribbean visit of His Imperial Majesty the Emperor Haile Selassie in 1966. But to broaden it a bit, as we said earlier, within the context of what the world is observing today, which is 420, and also within the context of contemporary Ethiopia. Dr. Jabi, greetings, my brother, greetings.
Greetings, beloved, and you're speaking about contemporary Ethiopia. Contemporary Ethiopia celebrated the 45th anniversary since that independence. We are talking about Zimbabwe on the 18th. 45 years ago, Zimbabwe got her independence from Britain. The United Kingdom, as many of you may know it, and we want to really give thanks because it seems like something that we don't talk about, and especially the role that Rastafari play in securing that liberation.
In the liberation. We don't talk about African countries getting independence from Britain in this space because we long before Britain. But I take the point you're making, which is to say today is a Liberation Day celebration in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is an ancient kingdom. It has to recognize itself as that or will be trapped forever in the thinking of the white man. But thank you for raising it in this space.
No, in this space, why I brought it up was because of the role that Bob Marley and Rastafari played during that 45th original anniversary.
Yes.
You see, not only were they then playing music, they were a contributor to the armed struggle as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we don't realize that the armed struggle also brought about Rastafari. And since you're in this space, you're talking about His Imperial Majesty. The role that His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie the first played in the liberation movement.
Yes.
Financing the liberation struggle, introducing the armed struggle to the Pan-African communities.
And that is important to raise that because the discussion has to be wider than the visit. Because there's so much impinging on just the presence of the Majesty in the region, on identity, on culture, on thought, and thinking that, and I'm happy that you're here to help us to understand that this morning. We talk a lot, Dr. Jabi, and you have said this to me many, many times, that while the Majesty's 1966 visit to Jamaica is widely commemorated, and we talk about it a lot, and April 21 is a massive thing for us here on the island, that there are other stops, Trinidad and Tobago, Haiti, we don't talk much about these. How important is it for us to see this as a Caribbean visit, and how are these visits received? What were the lasting impact, do you think, of the Majesty's visit on these territories?
It is ironic that you brought in Haiti, for example, because His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I was the first head of state that visited independent Haiti. You'd think that since the time that Haiti was able to defeat the French, that some head of state would have taken the opportunity to visit Haiti. And lo and behold, it was His Imperial Majesty who chose that opportunity back in 1966 to visit Haiti. Also, Barbados was visited as well, and many of the things written oftentimes does not incorporate Barbados as part of the visit. So it was basically 4 Caribbean islands, namely Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Haiti, and of course Jamaica. And that was great because the Pan-African community, by and large, wanted to see that visit for a very long time, in particular Jamaica, because as you're aware, there has been different pilgrimage by different Jamaican group that has been to Ethiopia, trying to facilitate, in particular, the repatriation. Because repatriation was the order. It wasn't so much a reparation at that time. It was that we wanted to go home, being that we recognized that we were domiciled here in the Western Hemisphere, and our home was Ethiopia. And when you say Ethiopia, I noticed that you kind of bring it from a continental perspective, which you're absolutely correct.
Why do you think that the focus of the 1966 tour is, I suppose this is a non-question, but anyway, is more centered on Jamaica alone? And how do you think? Because the point is that with the centering the tour on Jamaica, when Trinidad he was there for a few days, and you talk about the other countries. I mean, when we talk about Haiti, what happened there was brilliant, actually. But that we see this focus on Jamaica. Do you think that there's some way in this focus on Jamaica kind of skewing our understanding of the Caribbean-wide significance of the Emperor's journey?
I don't really think so, because you see, what really happened when you look at Jamaica is because of the Rastafari community. Now, Rastafari is more prolific on the island of Jamaica than all the others, and it is Rastafari, as a matter of fact, that keep alive this visit. If you go into the annals of the Jamaican society today, they don't even remember that in 1966, Emperor Haile Selassie came to Jamaica. It was the Rastafari community that make it, in fact, the name is known as Groundation. So the Rastafari community recognized that was a great opportunity to ground with each other. That is something that we have never had that opportunity to do again to the extent that we did in 1966. Because even the Jamaica government was not fully aware as to the magnitude of Rastafari on the island of Jamaica until that fateful occasion in 1966, where you find Rastafari coming out of that doldrum. And why I say that doldrum is that, as you will recall, in 1963, there was an island-wide edict by the premier to really kill Rasta out. Let's put it plain and simple, and we know it as the Coral Garden massacre. Some say Coral Garden incident, but it was much larger than an incident. It was an effort to annihilate and have a genocide, so to speak, against the Rastafari community. And since that 1963 carnage, Rastafari has been under siege until 1966. So 1966 was, in a sense, a coming of age. Here we have now, after having been underground, underworld for those 3 years, Rasta was able to bust loose, giving thanks to the King of Kings. So it was a freedom day, so to speak, for Rastafari. Oftentimes we don't connect that. But I have to connect that.
Of course. And to what extent, help us to understand this, Dr. Jabi, how the Majesty's visit might have influenced the development or the evolution, if you will, of Rastafari in the Caribbean nations beyond Jamaica?
It did. It absolutely did, because when you go back and you look at how profound it was for Rastafari on the island, you look at the tarmac, for example. Nothing like that has ever existed. You're burning chalice on the tarmac. Everybody say the plane going to blow up because, of course, chalice is ganja, and you have open flames. And normally it would be then forbidden to have any open flames on an airplane tarmac, because it's very flammable, so to speak, the gasoline that is used for the airplane. So when you see all of that and so much Rastafari doing it, Rastafari from all walks of life, that bring about coming of age, yes, of Rastafari within the Caribbean, but in particular Jamaica and globally, because anyone who had an opportunity to see that footage, even today, it mesmerized you. Yeah, what? Especially we who then lived on the island and had an opportunity to stand by the wayside, which is Winard Road, like where myself had the opportunity to observe the King of Kings coming through. The entire Jamaica, it wasn't just Rasta come out, Everyone wanted to see Rasta God. Everybody wanted to see this man. And when many folks look and say, he's so little. But in Talawa, nonetheless, as the Jamaican song will go. You understand? So we give the opportunity so much thanks that here we are getting a chance to see the King of Kings. That image, that footage became the mustard seed that grew into this great tree today. All over the globe.
Globally, one of the things that I noticed when I went to Ethiopia, and I see this also in Ghana and other African countries that I've been to, that where Rastafari is, there are, and I'm talking Rastafari from Jamaica, there are Rastafari members, and sometimes even, I take Shashamane, for example, that there was, when I went there, a strong contingent of Rastafari from Trinidad. I remember sitting with them and talking through how did they get to this place? Because sometimes we do not talk about ourselves within the context of the Majesty's visit. But it was that visit that led to the brethren who were on Shashamane, who had repatriated or were taking up the land grant, for the gift, if you will, from His Majesty, and were living on Shashamane. So that when we talk about His Imperial Majesty's visit to the Caribbean, and as I said before, you are someone who's always said to us, remember that this was a Caribbean-wide visit, and we have to contextualize it. Trinidad, he was there for what, 2 days? 18 to 20, I think.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Obviously, something happened in Trinidad after and as a result, because of the visit of the Majesty to Trinidad.
Well, you see, what happened in Trinidad, for example, the schools were out, right? And many of educational facilities make it a duty that the children were brought to see His Majesty on his journey.
Yeah.
You see, so it was a governmental participation, because, the brightness of the premier of Trinidad at the time, recognizing the importance to galvanize his support.
Yes.
Because remember, everybody was looking at this as a political opportunity for themselves. The only person who wasn't doing that was Rastafari. Yeah. You see, but each one of these groups were looking, say, His Majesty come, they can then show that they are in support of, because the whole goal was for the black peoples, generally speaking, but in particular Rastafari, want to go home. You see, because the goal was never to give up a continent for an island. So not only the goal was to go home to Ethiopia specifically, but also to Ethiopia generally, thus the term continent for an island. So the Rastafari was visionary enough to recognize that from Cape to Cairo would be Ethiopia. And even the ocean today that you labeled as the Atlantic Ocean was also the Ethiopian Ocean.
Yes. In your view then, and I can hear you saying that, Dr. Jabi, that this visit was not just for the politics but that some people saw it as political and there were other intents behind it. For His Majesty himself, what, if any, do you think, in your own view, was the political or symbolic intent behind the Caribbean tour?
The symbolic intent was to look at us, we who are in the diaspora, as an integral part of Africa. Because one of the things that His Majesty always states, that he is not just the king for Ethiopia, he is king for all Africans, wherever you may be. Mm-hmm. That is something that the Rastafari brethren saw to be real. You see, because the foundation of Rastafari is Kidamawi, Haile Selassie, or Haile Selassie the First. Mm-hmm. Being that it is the foundation of Rastafari, now the Rastafari brethren now start look to the things that the emperor states and recognize that the entire continent of Africa belongs to us. And our goal was, as it was with every one of us who was brought through the trans-Ethiopian slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, we recognize that we have to go back to our homeland, which is Africa. And that's where it's at.
Talking about that, what kind of relationship existed, just for listeners who are younger to this, who haven't really looked at this widely, between Ethiopia and the Caribbean nations before 1966, before the 1966 visit, and how did His Majesty's presence reshape or reinforce those ties?
Well, you see, what happened is that in 1935, Italy invaded Ethiopia. That invasion brought about that togetherness between the Pan-African community and Ethiopia. It kind of, as much as say you strike a match in Ethiopia and Rome will burn. And it basically become real because that match caused not only the burning of Rome or the white supremacist society, but it also bring about an awareness for us to the importance of Haile Selassie. The case in point, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey oftentimes speak of the 400 million Africans. And that is a great amount of people. But many of us is totally unaware of the Black Peril. The Black Peril was the 500 million, Africans that supported Ethiopia during that attempted carnage by Pope Pius XI, Mussolini, and the Vatican and Italy. You see, so here you have it now that an extra 100,000 people rally for the support. And within that, there were many people from Jamaica and the Caribbean who rallied, who gave their finances for support to the only sovereign African country. Remember, at that time. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I suppose the land grant, which we referenced earlier, Shashamane, also, if we put that in the mix in terms of how the Majesty's visit might have, and his presence in the region might have reinforced the Caribbean-Jamaica ties, that the gift of Shashamane, the land grant, would have assisted in that in a critical way.
But you see, land grants, generally speaking, but since we want to focus on the Shashamane portion a bit, I'll touch on other land grants as well.
Yeah, go ahead. Funny enough, I only know about him. I only know about the Shashamane. Did he also give other?
No. His Majesty also gave some land to some 70 Adventist folks who assisted during that invasion.
Oh, okay. And I didn't know about that. Yes.
Yes. And other who wish to come home. Remember,
yes,
the land in Shashamane was specifically for the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. That's why it was given through that group.
Yes.
You see, because that particular organization was established because of the invasion. You see, there's so much, as we say, that's to connect. What the invasion did, it bring out our dishonesty as well. So when Ethiopia was invaded by Italy, the United Negro Improvement Association, where we know as the UNIA, was the only viable organization where the ones wanted to give the money to support Ethiopia. Now, folks within the UNIA was stealing the money. The money was being robbed. So because and did not get to His Majesty, so you had three representatives who left from New York and went to see His Majesty in Bath, England. And it's from that visit how the UNIA was pointed out as being the organization that was stealing the money, and in turn, the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated was established primarily as an organization to collect the resources so that it will get to His Majesty so they can have the necessary money to finance the war. Because the war needs to be financed because our artillery was archaic, for lack of a better term. So we need to get modern. So His Majesty had the funds contributed by the people of Jamaica, yes, Little Island Jamaica and the United States, as well as other places, the global black experience, which is where the term black peril come from. The Black Peril is the largest congregation of black people known to the world to this day. And it was in support of His Imperial Majesty Ali Selassie the First and the Ethiopian patriarchs and matriarchs.
What is the current state, do you know, of the Shashamane land grant, the land settlement?
Well, the land settlement is it's going. It hasn't reached to the level that it's supposed to be, considering how long it was given. However, it's a struggle, to say the least. It's a struggle because during the Derg administration, certain portion of the land was then confiscated. When I say the Derg, that was, after the overthrow of the Haile Selassie administration. You have Russia and other groups who supported the overthrow, and they in turn continue to support the Dergs until they too were overthrown. Today we have a better option. And when I say better, I'm looking at, for example, the Gerd Dam, which, as you know, is a new phenomenon in that part of the world where you have a dam to that magnitude being erected. And now that particular dam was a blueprint from His Imperial Majesty administration. Many of us may not be aware that
the Grand Renaissance
was not Abbey.
Yes.
Right, the Grand Renaissance Dam wasn't Abbey's genius, but it outside of the fact that the premier Abbey from Ethiopia recognized that there was a lot of things that was slated to be done in Ethiopia by His Imperial Majesty. And his ideas weren't better, so he decided to go and utilize the things that His Majesty wanted to do for Ethiopia.
And that's brilliant. I think he's done such a phenomenal job with that, considering the struggle between himself and Egypt, and then by extension, Israel and the United States, that he has managed to carry to this place. I recall that he, during the Tigray uprising 2 years ago, that he made a call to the Rastafari community and also to the Pan-African community. And one of the things that he pointed out was that he wanted Rastafari's help, but he also wanted help in stemming the negative narratives, the misinformation that was coming, being spread about Ethiopia and that war. How did the Rastafari community initially responded to Abiy Ahmed's call for support during that?
Well, it was a positive reaching out on his part, because what happened, as you know, Rastafari is diehard Ethiopian, for lack of a better term. Rasta does love Ethiopia. I does love Ethiopia. So that love for Ethiopia, and especially Ethiopia in need, because, of course, the goal was for the Tigrayan to really annex a portion of Ethiopia, break it up. So Rasta didn't want to see further splintering of Ethiopia. So Rastafari reacted. As a matter of fact, one of the fruit from that union with Rastafari in Ethiopia was a song that was made known as Stand Up for Africa. Stand Up for Ethiopia. You will find that Stand Up for Ethiopia rendition, one can go online and will find it, was a collaboration within Rastafari to provide a song of unity.
As part of the answer to that call from Abiy Ahmed. And I suppose Rastafari would have responded with or without a call because of the pressure that Ethiopia was coming under from...
Yes, but you see, but here's the problem. I dropped the ball because that united effort by Rasta is almost like a use thing, because everybody come to try use and abuse Rastafari. After all of that, you would have expected, that here is Rastafari reaching out in your hour of need. What kind of recompense then could the country of Ethiopia provide for the Rastafari community? Mm-hmm. And nothing never really won, and that is where things become Aguaya now, because now you find he's going to need it, the Rastafari community again, and we may not be as ready, willing, and able.
Yeah,
right.
and you're right about that, because we're watching now what's happening in Ethiopia. Abiy Ahmed himself is in a very tight place, because Ethiopia, as you know, and you'll give us a background to that, doesn't have access to shipping routes. And in particular, Ethiopia needs access to the Red Sea, but it's blocked around by Eritrea, by Somaliland. And if you look at the map in the Horn of Africa there, you'll see exactly what that looks like to our listeners. And so Abiy Ahmed is pushing for this. But what we saw an interesting thing now with Abiy, that Saudi Arabia visited a few weeks ago, about 3 or so weeks ago. He did something that looked like a perp walk, which is to say, we are listening to Saudi Arabia. And then right after that, we saw Israel coming in again. I mean, Israel hasn't really left Ethiopia because they do have a relationship, but Israel had sided with Egypt on the Renaissance Dam that you mentioned just now. But Israel is coming in again. And so Abiy seemed to find himself in a very tight place. What is your own thinking of this, and how important is it for Ethiopia to have access to the Red Sea?
No, it is imperative, because you see, first of all, let's go rewind a little bit. Mm-hmm. Let's be Sankofa before we go forward.
Yes.
This whole concept of Ethiopia not having outlet to the ocean was self-imposed. It was Emperor Menelik that caused this debacle. What Emperor Menelik did was he was yearning to become emperor of Ethiopia. And he didn't have enough arms, so he decided to sell Italy, the Eritrea, to get arms, so he could defeat Johannes and he could become the emperor of Ethiopia. He was just a king of Shore. So that misstep by Emperor Menelik caused us to be in this quagmire today. You see, because what happened is, not only did he sell the land, he also sold the Eritreans as slaves.
You mean the people of Eritrea?
The Ethiopians who were living in the Eritrean
region.
That's all Ethiopians.
Which is one country. Eritrea is like, St. Mary, Jamaica, so with the Eritrea, Ethiopia.
Thank you very much. Right. So what happened now, in order for him to get ahead, he decided he's going to sell that portion. But because he was narrow-minded in his scope, he sold the only outlet that we had to the ocean at the time.
And who did he sell it to?
He sold it to Italy.
So at some point, at some point, Ethiopia regained Eritrea, because I remember in the 1990s when the war sprung up again, and then Eritrea seceded once again. So at some point Ethiopia did regain Eritrea.
But it was a temporary thing, because what happened is that there's no love lost between the people from that region and the overall Ethiopians, because Ethiopians against Ethiopia, but it's what you call a tribal war. Okay? So the tribes that is in Eritrea don't like the rest of the tribe. They don't like the Oromo and the other ones. Why? Because of what Emperor Menelik did. No. That is the first part of it. The second part was during the Battle of Adwa. During the Battle of Adwa, the Eritreans were, for the most part, fighting with the Italians. Because they recognized the stupidness that Emperor Menelik did. So there was no love lost between them and Emperor Menelik. So they used it as an opportunity now to get back at Menelik.
I hear you putting the blame squarely on Menelik's shoulder. I'm thinking that it has to be more nuanced than that, Dr. Javid.
There is. However, listen, you see, who know better do better, you know. And
Yes.
since the Emperor Menelik, we would say, well, he knows better.
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
So no, we have to
So
push
that
on
is,
the other part.
so you're saying you're putting this in historical context to say that route, because Eritrea opens into the sea, and so that route through Eritrea is totally blocked off. We know Abiy isn't even considering it. I see where he's gone to Somaliland, and
Right.
that there is a serious tension between Somalia and Ethiopia. At the same time, Donald Trump, one of his first acts as president was to bomb Somalia, and he continues to bomb Somalia because they say this is where Al-Shabaab is, and so they're bombing out the terrorists deep. This must have some blowback on Ethiopia, and I want to put this back within a Rastafari perspective, because one of the things you've said is that Rastafari, Ethiopia is going to need Rastafari. Again, there might be a call to Rastafari, but that Rastafari might be reticent.
But you see, you have to, because you see, Rastafari is the only group globally that is 100% not even the Ethiopians, them love Ethiopia like Rasta. Let's be real. So that love is what they play on and emotionally entraps us. But I don't want to lose sight of the situation with Menelik, you know, Empress Kabu, because you know why? Mm-hmm. It's after Adawa, as I was saying earlier. The bigger issue was, what did Menelik them do to the Eritreans? That they captured Eritrean, you know, during the Battle of Adawa. Mm-hmm. And instead of having them as prisoners of war, them cut off them right hand and them left foot. No, that bring about a deep hatred between the other Ethiopian tribe and the Eritrean tribes. Because the Eritrean know, when somebody going cut off your hand and your foot, why leave you to die? And that was something that Emperor Menelik did. So me at the time, it's your mistake, you know who I am. I am somebody who, listen, me give the devil him dues. Yeah. I'm never burn him out, because I don't give a rat's rear end after what basis this virgin had. The fact is, what he did was atrocious.
The ultimate outcome was to defeat Ethiopia, but you're saying to defeat Italy, but you're saying the betrayal of the Ethiopians who lived in Eritrea is something that it doesn't balance. It doesn't even begin to balance it out for you. This is something that
because the slavery business. Because remember, it takes Emperor Haile Selassie to abolish slavery in Ethiopia. You know? So throughout all these times, remember, it's 1941.
So what
is His Majesty abolished slavery? So slavery. So therefore, all of these people were running slaves. Although we talk about slavery,
it was a feudal system. Yes, it was a feudal system, and it was a different. Let our listeners understand. It was a different. It wasn't chattel slavery, but it was a feudal system that resulted in the enslavement of people. Nothing like the chattel slavery that we talk about that our people experience on these waters.
We can't split ears now.
We're gonna split serious. We're gonna split serious hairs. You know why we're splitting hairs? Because across the continent of Africa there was slavery. But when we talk about chattel slavery and slavery on the continent of Africa, we're talking about two different kind of things. Both are bad, but chattel slavery and
we know the difference.
Comparison.
But Empress, why I'm saying we can't split here now, there was an abolition. Why there was an abolition is because the people who were enslaved were in a different kind of a bondage than the people who were free. You have bonded and you are free. And herein lies the problem, because when the emperor sold, remember, him sold the land and the people.
Yes.
And they all were benefiting economically from the slavery. It was economic exploit.
Exactly. And today, that kind of economic exploitation, similar to that, is still happening, probably worse, on the continent of Africa by Saudi Arabia. And this is why the meeting between Abiy Ahmed and the Saudi Arabia high delegation and the prince and so on, who all went there, and whatever they have signed off on, whatever whatever agreements or treaties they have entered into, I think this is going to be significant. And the point is, how does that affect Ethiopia's relationship with Rastafari? But let me take a quick break and come back.
All right, thanks.
Date Groundation Day will be tomorrow. He was in the Caribbean from about April 17 or 18. He was in Trinidad. He was in Haiti. And there is a discussion on his trip to Barbados. But also, we're looking at this within the wider context of Rastafari's relationship with the legacy of His Majesty, which would include Ethiopia, of course, and also Rastafari being a foundation response to oppression and indignities on this island came out of the belly of Jamaica as a response. Part of that response included the sacrament, which is ganja we're talking about today, which is 420. And at the same time, there's so many challenges surrounding the decriminalization of ganja and this whole talk of medicinal ganja and the extent to which Rastafari has been excluded. Dr. Jabir, we have just about 4 minutes. And so I want to give you that time to kind of just put all of this together, because we have just 4 minutes.
In 4 minutes, first thing, you just speak about some sacramental thing. You see, one of the problems with Rastafari and what the state have done, the state have first turned us into a movement, and that idea of movement has now elevated to being religious. Mm-hmm. Both because, remember, all of the varied relations, they start out as first being called movement. Yes. And as it evolved, they become a different religious entity. Mm-hmm. Now, if Rastafari is not a religion, what are we doing with sacraments? Mm-hmm. You see, what happened is those are the trappings that the system used to really take us off our footing. Our initial footing was about liberation. Our goal was to liberate the Africans and humanities who were in subhuman bondage by the elected men and people, as Rasta would say, those elitists who wanted to control. Yes. And that is the bedrock of what is Rastafari. I think if you notice, even ones like oil, what were they charged for? Sedition. Yeah. Why were they charged for sedition? Because they were opposed to the state. Mm-hmm. See, they were angry with how the Jamaican or the British governance was functioning, and that was the problem that we see all across the globe. Now, all of a sudden now, the Westminster and, of course, the university co-opted us. Mm-hmm. And little by little now, we became this religious, dogmatic situation that we find ourselves in. Yes. Let's go back to the root, and that is what I'm encouraging the Rastafari brethren. Remember, you had nothing to do with a religious entity. How did you have sacraments? How do you have, like, tabernacle? How do we have altar? These are all representation of the religious trappings that force us now into a completely different corner. We are not saying one can be cooked.
I hear you seriously, Dr. Jabi, pushing back at Rastafari relics, and we have to use the word relics within the same religious perspective, which is to say the altar, the tabernacle, the use of the word sacrament, that all of that is alien to Rastafari, but has been incorporated into Rastafari along the way.
Along the way, but the goal is a system, that forced that by through, because the more we collaborated with the high society within the universities, is the more they kind of steer us in the direction they wish for us to be steered in. There is certain what we say released documentation that shows, after a while, things is top secret, and then they release it. It shows that it was a manipulation by the society that forced these things amongst us.
Yeah, you're correct. We have seen the research, especially by Garvey brother. All right. So in a minute, what is your final word then on this? For now, not totally, but for now.
my fallen world and this, we have to get back to our roots, get back to where we had matriarchs and patriarchs and not priests and priestess. Matriarchs and patriarchs, of course, take us to our original Ethiopia itself. Forget about the religious dogma that is entrapping us and keeping us on the foot, because that is the goal. Get back to your revolution. Recognize that you have to save your land, because none of us can live in the sky. And it's all about the possession. And as it is said, we get the Bible, we start to close our eyes, and when we open our eyes, someone have the wealth and we have the Bible. Let us take back our wealth. As I tell you all the time, we need not so much reparations, but we want to get our diamonds and our gold mine back to ourselves.
We're going to leave
how can you be in my home and giving me some of my money as reparation while you're still digging out my diamond and digging out my gold as we speak? No, that don't make no sense.
We're going to leave it at that, because we're totally out of time. You can take 5 seconds quickly to say a final word.
Love Rastafari, and you can go to in Great Pond, to the Nyabingi Center in Great Pond, Redemption Ground, where they will be having a celebration, ISIS, on the 5th of May, that will tie in all of this. So May 5th at Rastafari Gates, there will be a groundation to tie in all of these things
I have to go.
Talking about.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much. All right. We're standing by. Listen up. Top draw dollars, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, hot pick, and cash pot. Early bird draws coming up right now. Time on IRFM is 8:30. I know I saw it just come up on the screen and then it's gone. And now I have blank. So I'm not quite sure what to do, but we're going to hang on there because I know that it just flashed. As a matter of fact, it's going on now. But for some reason, I'm not getting it in my headphones. So here, let me see. Yeah. All right. So I know it's going on. I can see that it's going on. So, all right. So for some reason, we're not getting it in the studio. If somebody can tell me. Let's see. No? All right. And then we're talking about the Supreme Ventures draw. We are apologizing because we are not getting it in this. Okay, here we go. Independent 25, the book launch of the St. Mary Literary Festival 2024 collected writings. This will happen at the Port Maria Civic Center in St. Mary at 10 o'clock. So that's Friday, April 25. Remember the book, the St. Mary Literary Festival collected writings. We spoke to Paul Ward about that last week. He was in studio. This is happening at the St. Mary Civic Center on the 25th of April. Also, to bear in mind is Sunday, April 27, because the book will also be launched in Kingston at the Poets Corner, Hope Gardens at 4 p.m. The St. Mary Literary Festival 2024 collected writings will be launched in Kingston and in Port Maria, St. Mary and Kingston. So 27th of April, Poets Corner, Hope Gardens for Kingston at 4 o'clock, and 25th of April, Port Maria Civic Center at 10 a.m. All right? And you know Sabira very well. She is born and raised in Jamaica. She's a daughter of Sister P, of course. She now lives overseas. She studied at Bates College, where she earned a bachelor's degree in history. She spent years afterward organizing workers in Connecticut to advocate for their rights. And this, in a way, was her passageway to political mobilization, policy change, and also the ins and outs of the legislative process. She's big in that now, just so you know. She's the executive director of the Connecticut. Are you still there at the executive director of the Connecticut General Assembly's Commission on Equity and Opportunity? Talk to me about that. Also, at the Capitol, Sabira worked closely with grassroots advocates and legislators to create equitable solutions for communities of color. She's organizing the Fuenting. The baton has passed from Sister P to Sabira. Sabira is on the line live from either Connecticut, New York, Nashville. Where in the world are you, Sabira?
Good morning. I am in Nashville, Tennessee this morning.
Well, there you go. I mean, I just played it by ear. You know, you could be anywhere. You could be anywhere.
Could have been any of those three this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I know, Mom is close by. This I do know. So say morning for me.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I will, definitely.
Greetings to Sister P. So, Sabira, Fuenting once again on the front burner. This is coming up shortly. What date are we looking at?
Sunday, July 6th this year. We moved it to July. I think we're trying to just be a little bit flexible with the schedule and kind of see when is the best date. So we moved it to earlier July, Sunday, July 6th this year for 2025.
All right. So because people are used to attending it in February or which other month? It's February usually, or
August.
August,
It was
right.
February for years, and then we moved it to August.
And it worked.
And then, yes.
And now to July, it will work again.
It will work again. It will work again.
Yes.
We're trying to, I think one of the main things we're looking at this year is how to involve students, a lot more students.
Yes.
And high school in Jamaica gets out early July. So we'd like to do some collaboration with some high schools. And then a lot of schools in the United States go back that first week of August. So we were missing a lot of people who wanted to come, people in education, for example, a lot of educators wanted to come and to be a part of it. So moving it to July really, we really trying to capitalize on the educational nature of Fuenting. So we're trying to get a lot more students to be able to come and learn about the festival.
I love that. And talk about the educational nature of Fuenting. Just elaborate on that. What is Fuenting? When you say the educational nature, what does that entail?
Yes, so Fuenting, is a culture that is all about preserving Jamaica's national African heritage and culture. So at Fuenting, you will see things from John Kuno, Kumina, revival, singing. You will see African, lots of different customs and practices that we are holding true and making sure does not die off with a certain generation. So the educational nature is when young people, we hear reviews back from people who come to Fuenting all the time saying they've never been exposed to anything like this. So we really try to ensure that we are preserving that culture and using an educational nature with it. There's, we have organic growers. We have Sister Amina, who's storytelling. My daughter, who's 8 years old, the first time she heard about Anansi was at Fuenting. And you can imagine how many young people there are who don't know anything about, our culture and our history. And it's just a really good way to infuse that into also having a very good time.
And sometimes we can take this for granted. I was talking to a young professional just yesterday. She's in her early 30s. And I said, we laughed at something that was really, I think, it's not something you'd normally laugh after, but you laugh because you couldn't help it. So I said to her, well, this is really taking Kintit Kiba art bun. And she said to me, I never heard that saying before, but it worked. That works. Now, she's in her early 30s. She's Jamaican. She's a graduate of the university, first degree and master's, and working very well professionally. And she's first time she heard Tek Kintit Kiba Heartbun. And I'm saying this to say, there's so much that we take for granted that we think we're passing on, but somehow the technology and the times not allowing us to do that. So what Fuenting does is to preserve and to protect and to pass that on. And I really want to congratulate Sister P and yourself on that. So for this year, what are we looking at?
So for this year, we're going to have the normal, traditional, the Jankuno, the stilt walkers. We're going to have Kumina. We're going to have Nyabingi chanting, and we will have Jungle King, as usual, doing his fire. We will have Muta with his dance party, and then we'll have, I think we really want to encourage people to come and be a part of the celebration. So we're looking to include this year, we're looking to find an author who will do a book reading and a book signing. Okay. We haven't necessarily solidified who that is going to be. We want to add that this year. Okay. This year we really want to create we did a little bit of research and saw the demographics that are coming to Fuenting, which is interesting. It is a lot of young families. I saw that. Kids. So we definitely want to do something something that will be kind of like a more structured children's corner. So, we always have the storytelling as a part of the event, but we wanted this year have a structured children's corner where we do things like teach young people how to, I don't know if you remember those box truck that they used to make out of juice boxes. We want to do a demonstration and have somebody do that. We would like to do some ring games, some marbles, show kids how to make Chinese skip. I don't know if you remember Chinese skip.
No, I don't. I don't even know Chinese skip is one name. So
you make it with the rubber band. They call it different things in different parts of the island.
Okay.
But so we really want to do something for the kids, specifically in that educational nature and preserving some of the things that we grew up on, we grew up playing, and they're showing these young people who, quite frankly, they have their nose in a tablet or a phone most of the time, and they don't know how to do that.
One thing I was fascinated by last year, as you talk about the demographics, just the amount of young people who came out. I'm talking about adolescents and teenagers and and young adults. To me, that was phenomenal, because here this is a cultural event which normally you see the older folks, but I sat in my car and just look at scores and scores of young people, young adults, 30 and down, just streaming in. What do you think? And I saw that the year before also. What do you think is causing this kind of a trend with Fuenting, where more and more young people are coming in?
So, it's interesting. We noticed that 2 years ago, when we were checking social media, we were looking at who was following us. Right. And it was very fascinating when we saw that the largest demographic was 24 to 35.
So about right.
And so we've done a lot on social media to kind of keep up with the times, to figure out who to target.
Yes.
But I do think it's refreshing. So it is something that is different than they would see. Because I said this, you go to one stage show, you've been to a stage show. You've been to one, kind of one of them set business. You've been to that. This is something that's so different. It's it's refreshing. And a lot of I say all the time, I turned 40 this year. A lot of my classmates come out. We went to high school together because I went to Titchfield High School.
Congratulations on winning the school challenge.
Congratulations on winning, yes. But one Titchfield, big up all the Titchfield.
Yeah, big up Titchfield around here.
So you see, like my classmates, and they bring their children, and everybody. It's something unlike anything that they've ever seen before. And I will say, Somerset Falls, who's been a gracious host for so many years. Yes. It is a great Sunday afternoon activity. You don't feel rushed. It's leisurely. You get food. I always say I eat my way through food.
I know. I want to be very upset with Last year, Look here now. Last year, I discovered. And a near discovered for me, because I didn't know it was there. But somebody did out there sell roti and dal and ball.
Yes.
And me eat roti and dal and ball on the spot. Me eat roti and dal and ball before me leave. And me buy roti and dal and ball to carry home. Me have a problem.
Yes, that was a new vendor, Porty Roti, we had this year, which is funny. Mom went to his restaurant and had the food and said, you have to come and be a vendor. And
I called Sister P afterwards and I said, Sister P, the person who celebrated the roti, and because me plan to come to Portland for roti and all about. So I do hope that Porty Roti will be there next year,
Yes, I hope so. We really hope that all of our vendors who have been here over the years, we lost a giant in the movement, Mama Fire, this year. But, her daughter, I would say, like me, Rainey, has really taken up the torch, and they have been with us from the beginning.
Yes.
Nardia, that do fry fish, they have been with us since the beginning. So it's really a family affair. And, the best part about this is, because people keep coming back, like you said, they get the roti, you come back, people expect it. People come and they expect to see the vendors. And I've been to a lot of different events in Jamaica, lots of different.
Yes.
It never feels like a family reunion.
It is true.
When I say Fuenting feels like a family reunion.
Although I want to push back at that to say our Garvey event is like a family reunion, but I ain't saying nothing.
Yes.
I'm just gonna leave that for a minute. I'm just gonna leave that for a minute right there. But you are forgiven.
That is also true. No, that is Kabo, it's the same. It's the same people. The same people travel from Fuenting and come to the Garvey event. It's the same people. Yeah. It's usually back to back, and you get to see. So wait, we see you last week. Yes, I saw you last week. So this year we get to see people. You see them in June, July, and they say, wait, we just see you last month.
Yeah, see you in August. We see you July 6th, and I'll see you in August at Area Fair.
Yes, exactly.
I really love it. I once again, just congratulations to you and Sister P for holding it. This has been going on for years and years and years. I think this is going from 1989 or 1990.
I think 1990 or 1991 was the first one.
I remember being at one of the very first ones in the 1990. Or 91, I was
up in the hills.
Yeah, way up in the hills there and that. And it has maintained, and for it to have moved from up in the hills, come down to the flat, but it has maintained over all these years its authenticity. And this is what I love about Fuenting, because it is what it says it is, a Fuenting. And it really does that. So this year, the planning, I suppose, are still on the way because we're looking at July. So we'll talk to you again. Well, anything else we need to know before we go?
We would love, as I said, it's like a family reunion and a family affair, but we would love to have lots of new people come. We'd love to have you follow us on Instagram at FuentingJA, follow us on Facebook at Fuenting. One of the things we do, we really try to preserve the history. So everybody who's been a vendor before, I know Mama's been in touch to make sure that they will continue to be a vendor. But we'd love to have some new things and some new people come in and kind of showcase their wares, anything that's locally made, handmade in Jamaica. The one thing that we really would love is to figure out to provide transportation for individuals. I have a bus that comes from Montego Bay for sure, courtesy of Miss Parchment. But if there's anyone who's interested in providing transportation from Kingston, we get a lot of calls every year to say, I would love to come to Portland, but we can't manage to drive the junction. Yes. So if we could get transportation organized from Kingston or from St. Thomas, we would greatly, somebody could send us a message on social media. We'd greatly appreciate it.
Or how do they find you?
They at Fuenting JA on Instagram or Fuenting on Facebook, or send us an email at fuentingja@gmail.com. Okay. And I would love to say good morning to the staff of Fuenting who's been with us for over 10 years. This crew is, brilliant. We are now at the place where everybody shows up and they know what to do. The young men who run the grounds are amazing. Kirk, good morning. I know it's Kirk's birthday. Good morning, Kirk. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Melbourne. Kirk. Kabu, last year was so seamless. I can't even express it. It was so emotional to see everybody just come in and knew where they needed to be. And it just went so well and so easy.
And it was great. It was such a wonderful time. That's what I said, Falls. Goodness gracious, I can't wait for July 6th.
To me, I'm so excited. Planning is underway. Everybody, we're definitely getting things moving. Right. And, please follow us on social media. Please, and spread the word. The save the date is out. We would love to have new people. And, one of the things is we are very committed. A lot of people reach out all the time and say, why you don't turn it into a stage show? And we say, we love to have the poets. We love to have Sister Amina. And we love to have the cultural aspect.
The music is there. Moot around the music every year, and it runs good. And it runs good.
We don't need a stage show.
And the spoken word is there every year, whether it's storytelling or poetry. And I hear you talk about including the author, and sometimes over time you've also had speakers. So it is what the Trinidad people call lime plus culture plus something. It's all of that. A Fuenting, I could just come and stop our stage show. Stop it. coming out.
yeah, then, iNation has come in and joined the board of directors. Good morning, iNation. And iNation has been such a great partner to work with. It comes with the books and, really make sure that we have really great books that preserve our culture. So, yes, good morning to iNation.
And I think we have some condolences to say to iNation, I think he might,
So condolences to your family, iNation.
Yes, condolences to you, my brethren, my brother, iNation. He sent me a text last night, so I saw where, his dad has transcended. So iNation, enough love, enough light.
Yes, and then much love to iNation.
And we keep in touch. Sabira, it sounds good. It is looking good. We're getting ready for that for July 6th for Fuenting in Somerset Falls in Portland, in Nassau. I like where it's located because any end you're coming from, you meet it, you get it quick. Ochi, I have to go all the way into Port Antonio, Kingston, same situation. Coming from Montego Bay, it's just right. It's at the right place in Portland, and it's really a beautiful venue. So we're looking forward. By the way, before you go, so we support you what you're going to be there. Okay, I'm thinking food. So Port Roach is there, and of course, Blue Draws Jukuno, making kenke from memory.
Yes.
So that will also be there. We just want to underscore all of those. And
definitely.
Okay. So, and last time there was turn cornmeal, but we never did see turn cornmeal before.
No, I think the lady who made the Dokuno added that to her menu this year. Yes.
Brilliant. Keep it up. We're working with that.
Yes, there's food from, we have vegan, we have live food, we have vegan food.
Yeah.
There is the craft vendors. Motamba is always there.
Yes.
And, always, the best thing about it, one of the things about Fuenting that I tell people is buy your things early. I used to window shop first and try to come back.
No, buy your things early.
Every time I window shop and come back, it is gone. So definitely make sure you buy your things
you
early.
See the people that would have the nice white cotton dresses last year. I did want one of those cotton frock. And
your window shop, right?
Yeah, my window shop.
Buy when you see it.
Exactly. So I hope you come back with a cotton frock. Then I wonder if it was Jackie. I wonder if it was Amber. Come me pass a place with a cotton frock. Then it look like fair something. Amber, me want white cotton.
And she,
white cotton frock.
I got one last year or the year before I got one. And every time I tell her I want one, she put it down for me because she knows somebody going to come by.
I'm going to have to make that call. Thank you so much, Sabira. Say hi to Sister P.
All right.
Greetings,
Thank
Sister
you.
P.
I will. And good morning to the whole Fuenting family. Thank you so much, Cabo.
And we talk soon. So that's Sabira Gordon there and Fuenting, of course, July 6th. We write down the date. We're going to be there. That's going to be a full weekend, by the way, because we have July 5 at in Port Maria at St. Mary Literary Festival, and then July 6th we're heading straight to Portland. So we like it. We love it like that. We can work with it like that. All right. So looking good, sounding good. Thank you so much for tuning in, for joining us inside of the Africa Forum. This is come. You say if you don't have to come, Orchard today, no come. If you do have to, then we can't tell you not to come. But if you don't have to come, if we can't put it off till the next day, put it off. And also, if you are in Ocho Rios, and if you're traveling between Kingston and Ocho Rios to Montego Bay to Negril, all of this area, over the years we've watched this area, Ocho Rios, Discovery Bay, Trelawney, St. James, into Westmoreland, that corridor, we've watched it over the years become the party corridor during this time of year. And granted, you think that people will be more sober, but not normally. So we ask you, do not drink and drive, number one. Number two, take it easy on the road. We know there are a lot of young people who head this way at this time of year. A lot of you are driving and you're speeding, and someone who just get on a license. Slow down, take it easy. Take it easy on the road. Leave to come back next year. Already we're seeing that we've had in this part of town. Even if you have to go supermarket today and have to go supermarket, you should have access to every beach. You could have just go a day like today now. You just go access one beach, but all of the beach them gone. Are being priced out of everything in Ocho Rios, not just the houses. not just the land, but the restaurants, the access to the river, the access to the beach, the access to the sea. You're just being priced out of everything. I wonder what's the end result. What are they planning? And how do they see this ending? So he says, thanks for this special program. The political class always compromise, Rasta. I is instrumental in the liberation of our people and continue to be the movement that shaped Black liberation consciousness. Only Rastafari in collaboration with Pan-Africanism can take us off that plantation and decolonize consciousness and move our people into an equitable and just society where we realize our full potential, free from oppression. Jamaica rise and unite outside of the existing politics of lies. Thank you so much for that, my brother. 1, 6, and so on. And my research, which was very well done, if I may say so myself, deep research. It wasn't frivolous on the, if we were going to go with the mark of the beast situation. And that it really was 616, and that when you understand the number, you understand that it is the throne, the monarchy of England from the time before King James himself sat on it. And so one of the reasons why he changed the number in the King James version of the Bible was to point it away from himself. But there are two ways to calculate this number. And if you calculate it using the Demetrite, it's going to take you to him, the throne of England. It's not just a person, it's the throne, the monarchy of England. And if you calculate it using that, the numerical, the alphabet, the Roman alphabet, it's going to take you right back to him, but he kind of put it off on the Pope at the time. Anyway, so that's an aside. The fact is that, so we understand the throne of England to be the beast. Technocracy and transhumanism, that's a beast system. We have proof, we can lay that out another time. And if you want me to lay that out another time, I'll lay it out. But yes, so the beast system is technocracy and transhumanism, if you want to go with that. We can go with it without being religious, because we don't need religion to validate it. We know it's a beast system. They themselves are now referring to it as beast. Anyway, so it is what it is. So the point I want to make is to say that we see the beast at church today. So we have to look again at how religion is organized and constructed around that which is satanic and that which is demonic. And we have to begin to call a spade, whether we come from St. Elizabeth or not. Point of the matter is that the structure of what we see around us as religion is really something that is demonic. It is something that is not of God. It is something that is totally outside of anything that is God-like or universe-like or even spiritual. It is demonic. I am willing to have that conversation. I'm willing to debate this. It is what it is, and it's the isness of things. We have to begin to call out that which is not of God. So it dresses itself in the cloak of that which is godlike and that which is true and that which is holy and that which is spiritual. But at the end of the day, it's doing the work of the devil. For example, if you're in a church and they're collecting tithes, then you have to ask yourself about how godlike this is. And even if they're collecting tithes, then you have to ask yourself, what are they doing with it? And if they're doing with it what God would not do with it, then that is also a demonic structure. Narcissists and sociopaths hide themselves in churches. They are the preachers, the pastors, the evangelicals, the evangelists, the deacons in churches. In the religious structure, the religious system is set up by these Machiavellian, narcissistic, parasitic sociopaths. They are running it, they're ruling it, they're the head of it. They're wearing purple and pink and blue gowns, and they're putting bread in your mouth and calling it the Lord's Supper. And they're laughing in the face of everything that is godlike and spiritual. But the religious structure as we know it is not of God. There's a whole pedophilia cloak that's around the British royal family, from the days of Seville to all the Rothschilds and all the other. There's a pedophilic group grouping that's always around them. It's almost like a pedophilia cloak that covers them. There's just so much disgrace and nastiness that surrounds that family. There's Jeffrey Epstein, there's Seville, there's what's his name, who was friends with the father. And so on. So the information is really easy to find in terms of how much sexual deviancy surrounds the British royal family, which calls itself the head of state of Jamaica, and to which Jamaica kowtows and bows. And there's so many who are bowing to that throne, which is to say that you're bowing to the devil's throne. You're bowing to the beast. You're bowing to that which is totally outside of your own historical context. And so we find ourselves locked into this beast-like situation, saying that the king is the head of state. And what's interesting is that we have a conversation on the ground here in Jamaica that we're going to look at from a whole different perspective, because there is, I think, a deliberate plan afoot to stymie, to sabotage, and to stop the Republican vote from going through. So I speak of the referendum to get rid of the monarchy, which is a beast as the head of state of Jamaica. This has to be done before the rapture. No, listen now. I'm going to talk to the Christians who are listening. We have to get rid of the beast as the head of state of Jamaica before the rapture. We have to get rid of the beast as the head of state of Jamaica before a whole lot of things. So we find ourselves locked into this beast-like system. I'm talking to Christians now. Into this beast-like system, because one political party or the other has been wanting it for years. Now there's a conversation to get rid of the monarchy as head of state. I do not like what I hear coming from the People's National Party. I would say to them, stop it. And I also say to the Jamaica Labour Party, get this done. Get this done. And there has to be support from the People's National Party on this. I don't care what they say has to be done before that is done. There are other things that need to be done. I get it. And I'm not saying I don't understand it. I'm saying that we need to do this. We need to do this. And we can't stand on all kinds of ceremonies trying to, get other things done at the same time. And then next year and the year after that and the year after that, we find ourselves in the very same position. For me, we have to get rid of the monarchy as head of state of Jamaica tomorrow. So however we're going to do this, let us do this. For me, it is urgent. Andrew is with them at church, but I don't have anything against Andrew, because all of them are just as deviant as they are. The one who calls herself Queen Camilla, she was married to a man while she was having an affair with Charles. And so she was married to that man while she was having this affair with Charles. And at the same time, that man who was married to her while she was having this affair with Charles allegedly was having an affair with Anne, who is the Queen's daughter, Princess Anne, allegedly. And so that's the whole deviant situation that's happening there. And then them put on them pretty frock and them dress up and put on cologne and powder on them face and go to church. But worse than that, there are so many of our people who are bowing to these. Let me go on. There is a quiet war that is being waged on the island. Quiet war that is being waged along Jamaica's coastline. It is a war that is not marked by bullets and fire. It is marked by barbed wire, by concrete walls, by security patrols, and by signs that read in capital letters, private property. It is a war and people, but against the soul of the nation itself. The seas that have long been the lifeblood of our culture, our history, and our livelihoods are being ripped away by the insidious hand of greed, cloaked in the legal garments of a colonial past. Natural inheritance of every Jamaican are being parceled off, fenced up and auctioned to the highest bidder, often foreign, often rich, and nearly always out of touch with the people who built this country. This is not development. This is dispossession. This is not development. This is dispossession. Era laws, those outdated statutes designed to serve the interests of empire, are now conveniently resurrected and repurposed by modern elites and political gatekeepers to justify the privatization of Jamaica's natural resources. Laws created to keep the colonized away from their own land are being used to criminalize Jamaicans for daring to access a beach or bathe in the river. This is not development. This is dispossession. Leaders elected to represent the will of the people are not merely complicit, but active participants. They sell off beaches and rivers to private interests under the pretense of tourism development, while offering scant protection for public access. Hotels and all-inclusive resorts are being granted license not only to own beachfronts, but to build into the sea itself, destroying the marine ecosystems and blocking traditional fishing and swimming areas that generations of Jamaicans have depended on. This is not development. This is dispossession. Killed and died under colonial rule are now being told that we cannot set foot on the same shores where their blood was spilled. This is not just an environmental issue. It is a matter of justice. It's a matter of sovereignty and dignity. Every Jamaican, regardless of class or creed, because that's how they've got us now, should have the unquestioned right to enjoy the island's natural beauty. Or a dip in a river has become a luxury that only tourists or the wealthy can afford. And if you try, they pull their guns at you. Time for us as Jamaicans to rise up and demand justice and freedom, or to take it. Land ownership. What does ownership look like? What does access look like? What does that mean in this neo-colonial system? The laws cannot just be built upon. They have to be repealed and replaced. The beaches and rivers must be reclaimed, and those who have profited from the exclusion of the people must be held to account. The sea does not belong the sea does not belong to the hotels. And I was going to call the hotel. But the sea does not belong to the hotel that is about to build in the sea. The rivers do not belong to the who have real estate companies and investment companies and are hand in hand with government and opposition alike. The beaches belong. We have a responsibility as a people not to fail ourselves and our ancestors and our children in reclaiming that which is rightfully ours. It's a silent war that is being waged against the people of Jamaica. It will not stop unless we stop it ourselves. Tomorrow will be Easter Monday, and I know today is a big bad, well, the big good Kite Festival at Buccaneers there in St. Mary, just outside of Port Maria. And so that is shaping up to be really good. We're going to check that out today. So we're going to go to the Kite Festival today. All right. Interesting story in the Sunday Gleaner today. Yeah. No, was it yesterday? Yesterday, April 19. Headline, religious leader charged after Clarendon girl allegedly taken for 3 days of darkness. I'm not saying that I understand it, but the story says 3 people have been charged with abducting a 13-year-old Clarendon girl who police allege was taken to participate in a supposed religious ritual dubbed 3 Days of Darkness. The child was allegedly abducted on April 7 and rescued on April 15 by investigators assigned to the National Strategic Anti-Gang Division of the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigations Branch, CTOC. And they give you the names of the accused and say one is identified as 60-year-old. Their names are there. Another is 35 and another is 38, all of a Ewerton St. Catherine address. And they said, according to investigations, the teen was allegedly taken from her home in Fort Parts without the knowledge or consent of her mother. A missing person report was filed, prompting an immediate investigation by the NSAD detectives. And the probes led police to a home in Ewerton where the missing girl was found. This is scary. This is reading pretty scary. The 2 other children were also discovered at the premises and were later found to be unregistered for school. And the police allege in a statement, and I'm going to quote what the police says, according to the Gleaner, the Clarendon teen was reportedly taken by the religious leader for a special upcoming event akin to 3 Days of Darkness. The accused, one of whom is her aunt and the mastermind behind the abduction, were taken into custody and the children were removed from home. I'm wondering if I did a quantum jump, if I'm in a whole different reality, because this is sounding like the weirdest thing to me. It continues, all 3 are scheduled to appear in the Home Circuit Court on April 28. The article goes on, the police are urging parents and guardians to exercise increased vigilance regarding the safety and welfare of their children and to be cautious of organizations, including those operating under the guise of religious groups that may promote beliefs or practices endangering children. And then it goes on, anyone with information that may assist the investigation or who wishes to report suspicious activity is asked to contact CTOC, the National Intelligence Bureau at 811, the police 119 emergency number of the nearest police station. So the charges, abduction of a child under 16, being a member of a criminal organization, 2 counts of duty to secure education, 3 counts of duty to report need for care and protection. And also there are other charges, conspiracy to abduct a child under 16, being a member of a criminal organization, 2 counts of duty to secure education, 3 counts of duty to report need for care and education. This is frightening. 3 days of darkness. I don't even know. I'm trying to understand it. I don't even know. I can't. I am going to try and figure it out. 3 days of darkness. You know, we are missing a lot of our children. And sometimes when I go on the JCF site or any of these sites that usually post the missing children, my heart sinks, because there are so many criminal groups operating in Jamaica. And somebody knows. I mean, they come with so-called development. They come with treaties and real estate. Hang on a sec, because you and we're losing our children to all kinds of stuff and to all kinds of situations. Take care of the regulatory regimes being the greatest obstacles to limitless energy. And you also spoke about that they now have the technology to bend time and space. And I'll spend some more time talking about it. But I've looked very closely at the speech. I've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb. And what it tells me, because he gave this speech at the White House. It is out there. If you can go find it, Google him and you'll find the speech. The speech is coming from a technocratic perspective. When we talk about technocracy, this is what he's outlaying. So there's a whole technocratic perspective viewpoint where he's focusing on talking about efficient application of technology to manage and solve societal issues. On the face of it, it doesn't seem as if it's anything. But it goes on to critique the regulatory regime as a barrier to technological progress in the energy sector, and alludes to technocracy as a governance model, which, as we talked about before, technocracy advocates for decision-making by experts in the relevant fields, so the engineers, the scientists, and so on, rather than the politicians. And you see the criticism there of the regulations shifting innovation, and how this aligns with technocratic principles. I'm going to go through it. I think next week, Sunday, I'll be able to go through some more. And he stressed the regulatory regimes and the impact on innovation. He also talked about limitless energy and technological utopianism, if you will. He talked about the concept of limitless energy. Listen to that speech again closely. This is something that he underscored. And another thing that he did was to say, we have the technology to bend time and space. Now, there are surface meanings to that, and there are hidden implications to that. They're coming right out now and saying that which they're doing. He also criticized the existing governmental regulations, and you can throw what Doge is doing into part of this, because that critique relates to exactly what's happening with Doge in the United States. Here in Jamaica, they're talking about epoch, and they talk about, it's a very similar thing. Jamaica is doing it too, Don't think Jamaica isn't doing it. Jamaica is getting ready for smart cities. Listen closely to the Prime Minister. He's told us in more ways than one. Jamaica is getting ready for smart cities. Smart cities are critical to technocracy and that whole beast system that we're talking about. Listen to the Prime Minister. He's telling us a lot of stuff without telling us. He has bought into whatever they are unfolding, the fourth industrial revolution, and it's happening around us. So there are many hidden implications in Kratsios' speech when he talks about limitless energy. This is basically where they're going. It's radical. It is game-changing. It's talking about energy technologies, nuclear fusion, advanced solar technologies, new forms of clean energy. This whole thing they talk about sustainable development. Sustainable development and technocracy goes hand in hand. One, they told them at the same thing. It's not even like two different sides of the coin. They're just the very same thing. So I know somebody's asked me to spend some more time talking about technocracy. Technocracy comes with everything you hear here, this whole bending of time and space. They're already doing it. We know that we can do it without them technology. So we have to tap back into our African minds and our African selves. For manufacturing, we're not prepared for producing. In other words, our own manufacturing, our own production, our own agriculture, our own farming, our own. We are on our own, but we do not recognize that we have already sold ourselves as prostitutes. And now we're open for every Tom and Ham. Jamaica, how do we change the economic order that they're changing on us? It's a whole new world economic order, pandemic treaty. I went through the pandemic treaty here a few months ago. This is our death knell. We sign this and we sign off to die by pandemic and vaccines. Just gave some of the big pharmaceutical companies the go-ahead to manufacture mRNA vaccines for bird flu. At the same time, they're telling us about COVID-19 and COVID, and it was leaked from a lab. We'll tell you it was leaked from Wuhan. The day called SARS-CoV-2, it was a Sunday after that I came here and told you there's only one place that came from, and it was from the Wuhan lab. I stand by that. I haven't changed that. This was always very, very clear to me. Now they're telling us the entire scientific research document because it serves someone purpose to do that. So they're going to talk about that. They're going to talk about the vaccines, the mRNA vaccines and long COVID and all death COVID and all kinds of stuff. Death by vaccines. But let me tell you, even while they're doing that, they have now given the go-ahead to the pharmaceutical companies, bird flu. So, plant something. And she's in. Good morning, Big A. Happy 420. Happy Groundation Day, which is coming up. And, well, I know you don't smoke, but it's 420 just the same. You can have a drink, if you pour a little thing on it. Pour a little thing on it. You can draw it. I mean, hold on. Yeah, wait. I know what you're going to say, but go ahead. Remind me.
What is the time I'm going to remind you of, Cabo?
You're going to remind me that the first time any of us heard about 420 in Jamaica, you tell away.
Oh, all right. Okay.
I'm right on it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Right. Of course.
So, no, that's what I said. Happy 420.
I don't know why you come in to tell me now, say I don't smoke, but happy anyway. I am the person who brought your attention and many others in.
I know, Mighty Mike first and then me.
There you go.
So I work.
So I am very aware of.
And that is you're talking about from 1990s. And I've never let it go until a big thing now till it named Peter Tosh Day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So happy Peter Tosh Day.
Oh, happy Peter Tosh Day to you.
Thank you.
The herbalist.
The herbalist. And so him say more light it up in a Buckingham Palace and all of that. But we just all take a little sip because none of we don't really smoke on it. Right. Yeah.
That's right. We wear it.
Oh yes, we do. We do wear it, and
we sip it,
and it's good for dengue fever.
There you go.
It's a healing of the nation, right? So you don't have any bio.
Not at this moment.
Because when you're asking for herb, you can't ask in English, you have to look a certain way, ask a certain way. I'm not for you. I'm not for you.
No.
Okay. All right.
Not like Sizzla, who said we got it right here.
No, I get it.
No, Sizzla.
It's not a Sizzla thing. It's not a morning Sizzla. But you know, have a birthday recently, Sizzla.
Yeah, man. We don't remember which day, but
yeah, we probably miss it.
Yeah, one.
Happy solar return, Sizzla. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would like to miss it.
Yeah.
I know people better.
Right. We got it right here. No.
Yeah, we're not happy to right here. So, BK, what look like on the road? Because I know, you probably not come from the way there, but what are we, everybody doing here?
As per usual.
Goodness gracious.
Ocherius is party central when it comes to the holiday weekends. 3 big holidays for the year, and Ocherius is party central. The Easter, the Independence, and Heroes weekend.
Goodness.
Ocherius just get crazy. Wow. A lot of the attention sometimes is diverted to Negril around about independence, but which is still crazy.
Yes, it's mad.
Yeah, it is still crazy.
Don't try go General Foods, going on over the park.
Go again?
Don't try go General Foods, on over the park.
No, for real. No, nowhere in Ochi. It is especially in the afternoon when church meet beach.
No, but look at church now meet the beach, but every beach you private. So wood up on the beach, that's when I come out.
Well.
You mean like Pearly Beach?
Whichever beach. But you ask the ladies who will let them swimsuit.
Where them going?
And them riders on a Sunday afternoon around about 2:00, which beach them go? Because
I think it's Little Dunsriver.
They are out in their numbers.
I think it's Little Dunsriver.
Wherever them go.
But which part else big? You know another beach where you keep telling me about. When name I get up there, so. Where you say me can't? Oh, anyway, we can't talk upon the radio. I'm allowed the beach. But I'm just saying, but I get the point you're making. But which beach ain't go? I river them, man. And which river?
Wherever they go.
They're out.
But yeah.
I think they're just pretending to be going to the beach because there's no access.
No, man, them full of sand. Where them get sand from? A lot of them are going, others are coming. Then you meet, then church, meet the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's crazy in the afternoons on a Sunday.
On an ordinary Sunday.
On an ordinary Sunday, let alone
a
heroes weekend. Because the parties are out, the afternoon parties are out today.
And so Pearly Beach parties, right?
I'm not so sure where they are.
Most likely. I think there was one there yesterday at least because there are hundreds of vehicles there yesterday.
And then today is the day of the kite festivals as well.
Right, and the big kite festival in St. Mary is one thing, and is there not one in Ochi?
There's one in Brownstone.
Oh yes, there's one at
Addison Park.
Addison Park, yeah, and there's one at Buccaneers. So in the two directions, the Buccaneers in St. Mary,
right,
and then Addison Park is the other way. And there was one yesterday in Ochi.
And there was one in Claremont. When is the Claremont one?
Yeah, I don't know. Robert, what a Claremont one? And I think I heard there's another one.
It's somewhere on that board, though.
Oh, well, I can't see. Okay. So there are a lot of kite festivals in this area.
Right. And today is 420 as well. Today's the
420 show. The 420. I know I'm going to go to the kite festival in Buccaneer first and then come back for 420.
Mm-hmm.
What you doing?
You mean 20 past 4? You're going to be here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that too. So what you doing? You're just gonna work until Muta relieve you? Muta again, you know.
It's Muta.
You have to watch your last half an hour, or you play for the last half an hour, sir. Right? Do not try.
He always have a problem with how I play, no?
I don't wrong him, sir. Right?
He always have a problem. It is always something that him was going to play.
I don't wrong him, sir. Right? So I think you should just do a little. You can't call it clash, what do you call it now? But all everything at, the last half an hour, I'm just coming in and you and him do a little tune for tune.
It could have worked. That would be nice.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Anyway, so you're not going nowhere today.
I have a lot of respect for his musical knowledge.
I know.
So,
him don't have any respect for mine. And you was Sarah.
No.
You was Sarah.
No, hold on.
Yes.
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
How can a teacher not have a respect for the student?
Well, that's true. That is true.
The student that he taught. You're crazy.
That's true. And that's the only reason. You have hope.
That is the reason enough.
Yeah, it's a matter of hope. Like you said, I have hope for you.
That is reason
all
enough.
is not lost.
That is reason enough.
Well, I really thank you so much for that. I feel much better. I heard Koffee's new song and I thought of you because I said I wanted to ask you if it remind you every time she end like she doing what I'm calling the runs of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Never remind you of anybody.
No, you don't have it in my email. I haven't heard it.
You're not listening it. All right. It kind of sounds like Shabuzi at the end there. It's like she go a little Shabuzi. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I just hear, listen and tell me. She go a little. Yeah. She go a little country. She go a little country.
Right.
Yeah. If not in the rhythm, definitely in the style of the audio, the speaking, the words, and then the singing, and then how she just, Shabuzi do the NIM song them, especially the one, the bar song.
Mm-mm.
It kind of tapers off like that. Not the rhythm, but definitely she was doing a little country thing in our style. Tell me what you think about it. Anything you say, I'll go with it. So anything you need to say before we go?
What else is happening now?
Lots of parties. And that's basically it. And we say take time on the road because I don't know if you saw that there's a TikTok star who died, a TikTok personality who died on the road coming from Akeem to his parents, to his family condolences.
You heard about the Jamaicans who died in South Africa?
No.
Yeah, man, in a bus crash.
No.
2 days ago.
I didn't hear.
There were a couple of some missionaries from here, and Gary G and I are friends of one of them. She's actually from Mauritius. And
what happened?
They were on missionary work down in
somewhere in South Africa.
Down in South Africa.
Oh.
And I understand the bus driver was going at breakneck speed.
That's not strange in South Africa. South Africa is similar to Jamaica in terms of road accidents, and probably even worse.
Oh, no, actually, my correction. It's Ghana.
It's Ghana. So, okay. So that's a whole different thing. Wait there. Tamale. Oh. Yeah. I know this place. Tamale, Kumasi, bound. And it's VVIP bus. We travel in these buses all the time. That's what we travel in when we're in Ghana. That is not to say we have money, Come and see you look at me away. It's just to say that if we're traveling a star. Behave yourself, man. Right, it don't mean not much. It's just a bus. We call it a coach, right? Well, in England, them call it a coach. Well, some of them call it a coach. But it's a Tamale Kumasi bound VVIP bus, which, Tamale Highway in the Savannah region. I know exactly where this. People at the scene said they were able to rescue the injured and sent them for treatment while waiting for the arrival of personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service. Oh, you see this road? Oh, goodness. Some of the survivors who spoke to Joy News said they left Tamale about 7:30 in the rains and were heading towards Kumasi, but upon reaching Alipe, a suburb of central Ganja district in the Savannah region, their vehicle overtook another vehicle and attempted to overtake a second one when it veered off the road, resulting in an accident. Why am I going so fast?
That's so like Jamaica.
Very much like Jamaica, yeah.
It's just like how
Yeah. We were 15 missionaries in the bus going to Kumasi. So the moment we took off, the rain started too, but our driver was doing overtaking, and after the first car, he went for the second car, but could not and went off the road. Now, 3 of our colleagues are among those under the car. The rest are rushed to the hospital. So how you know somewhere Jamaicans? You hear by the way?
No, because the calls came in from persons to tell us that our friends, 2 of our friends were caught up in that accident.
Oh, this is so sad. Ghana has so many motor vehicle accidents. So what they have done on the roads in Ghana is that on the roads where you have more motor vehicle accidents, put the sleeping policeman. Like, you say how we have like a 1 sleeping policeman, I won't see it till next year. Mm-hmm. In Ghana, you have 10 straight. Just like on one stretch of road, you'll just have like 10 in one place, and then you travel it and there are 10 more. Because they try so hard to prevent these kinds of accidents. And, and it's working. But I know that this kind of reckless driving happens with these things. And it's such a shame.
Her sister's in Content Gardens. I just want to send condolences to the family of Heather Dillon.
Heather. Wow. Our deepest condolences to the family
of that crash.
And all the others who were there, who, wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. And you're saying these are people who you know, even the one who's...
No, I know at least one person, friends of mine and friends of Gary G.
Wow. That is such a sad news.
She hears from just around the road here.
Yeah. I know exactly where it happened, we're in Tamale. So our deepest condolences to the family and friends of the missionaries who were killed in that accident in Ghana. And here in Jamaica, we say, take it easy on the roads. Take it easy on the roads. I was telling you, it's 110 since a year,
Yes, and probably more since last night.
One thing we noticed in the early days is that a lot of the people who come down, and a lot of them coming in from Kingston, to Otrius at this time of year, that there are young people who probably just getting them licensed or get them licensed. They're not experienced drivers because they're pretty young, a lot of them. Mm-hmm. But so it's a whole party vibe and you're going to the beach and you da-da-da. But take it easy on the road. I know drinking, and a lot of liquor companies are having parties. They have to be, the liquor companies have to be more responsible, I think.
I think it comes down to personal responsibility, because I don't know if they can really be held accountable.
They can be held accountable.
Remember now, liquor sell everywhere, every day,
No, but if you have a party that, the liquor flow, then you have a responsibility to the people who are going to now leave a party to go home.
No, but liquor sell a bar and the club them every day same way. And these people have access to them. So, I mean, in the very same way that your responsibility is personal on those days, it is personal on a holiday too.
But again, I get the point you're making. But
They should come out.
When you walk into a bar,
should they come out and be more vocal?
They can be I'm saying
yes.
no. I'm saying at the venue, at the party,
Mm-hmm.
put things in place so that people are not leaving your party drunk for a drive.
No, like what do you suggest? Because what you're suggesting is that maybe you should put that up at the various clubs on any given night of the week so that people don't leave out of these nightclubs and out of these parties to go to drive home to.
That is because you're thinking that I'm talking about a liquor company sponsoring a party, but I'm talking
No,
about...
I'm not talking about
I don't want a liquor company putting on a party,
Yeah, fine. Mm-hmm. And I'm
because liquor company are put on party.
I agree, but the liquor company them sell liquor.
That's the point. When a liquor company put on party and you go to that party, you don't spend no money. You already... Everything is in your
no,
or it's a cover cost.
Not necessarily. No.
Oh well, Biggie, you're not going to the liquor parties.
No, man. No, not always, and remember, and I know these all-inclusive parties.
Not all-inclusive,
right?
I'm not talking about a liquor company,
and it's free.
There are many all-inclusive parties, which I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about a liquor company putting on a party.
Mm-hmm.
And the liquor company know themselves.
And how much of those happen per year, Cabo?
Probably one.
There you go. And we are talking about 110 people don't crash from one party. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm sure it's many parties that have...
There has to be a level of responsibility.
Not all of these are even liquor related. It's just madness.
All right, so we're talking about two different things. Biggie, are you saying that... Okay, so let me come off of this horse that I'm on with the liquor company putting on the party, which I still can't understand. But anyway, so let us say that... So you have these parties that are sponsored by liquor companies, right? There are a lot of young people there. You say do not drink and drive. You say you can't drive if you can't drink if you're underage. But we've been to those parties. And we know so there's no way to test if people are underage or them overage. We see young people drinking at those parties. As some of these young people are going to be driving. That is what it is. License or no license. People are leaving parties in Jamaica drunk and they are driving. I've witnessed that with my own two eyes.
And I'm not.
So what are you saying?
No, I am saying that if you are going to hold the liquor company responsible, you should also hold the bar owners and all of these people responsible because these parties are not the only place that these people...
There are different levels of intoxication. Somebody goes into a bar, because it's easier for the bars to do this,
but they don't.
Well, let us hold the bars responsible.
That's my problem.
But I'm saying...
That's my point.
You cannot say me...
But you can't just hold... You can't just hold the liquor company responsible.
No, because
your responsibility is personal, first and foremost.
I'm not discounting that. By the way, I'm not discounting that.
And you're not only responsible for yourself, but normally these people go out in groups with at least one more person. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that you need to hold your friend accountable, right? If you see him drinking and
there are different layers of accountability. Fine. Right? And I wasn't saying hold the liquor company alone responsible. There are different layers of responsibility.
Fine, so make a group them up together. Because it sounds like you are singling out.
Of course I singled it out. But not to say that you're the only one responsible. But to say you have a greater level of responsibility. Because you are as a national conglomerate or corporation.
I don't know how you measure that.
I measure it because...
I think your greatest level of responsibility is to yourself.
No, that is true. But people are going to be intoxicated once they start drinking. And you know that is what your product does.
That is what
the individual.
But so does the individual.
The individual.
You think them don't know that them can't get drunk if them drink it? I mean, a quarter of
the scientists who would have put, and the mixologists and all of those who would have put that liquor together knows that there's some serious level of impairment once you have taken my product. So you have a responsibility.
The patron don't know that?
So
the patron don't know that?
Understand me, because this is like a drug addiction. Alcohol is addictive.
It is,
right. And you also know that it's addictive. And so you have a level of responsibility.
It doesn't have nothing to do with that.
What kind of responsibility do you think I'm talking about?
You explain that to me.
Right, because the responsibility I'm talking about is to say whether you're going to do it at the venue or whether you're going to put things in place that bars can do, which is to say, if you see somebody stumbling into a car drunk, then assist that person or ensure that that person is not going out driving drunk. With the bars can do that. With the parties, you can do other things. You probably can ensure that you are reiterating the message while people are drinking, ensuring that nobody's leaving your venue, especially if you put on the party.
You realize the kind of resources you're going to have to take for that?
Well, find the liquor company and make enough money. Find the resources because 110 people dead on the road already, and a lot of them probably drunk.
I'm not saying that a lot of them are not.
Are you saying a liquor company don't have no?
I never said that.
What are you? But I'm not disagreeing with that though.
To single out.
No. There's a difference. Hang on. There's a difference between. There's a difference between singling out and saying that somebody has sole responsibility are two different things that, I'm singling out the liquor companies. And remember, my initial singling out of the liquor companies was to say that you have a great level of responsibility.
But this is your level of responsibility is to yourself.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I also know that liquor. I know that alcohol is addictive.
So let us start there. That's where the beating to come from.
Because it's a psychological situation when a person, when you have addiction.
These people are not addicted.
No.
I don't believe.
A lot of people are addicted.
I don't believe that it is an addiction.
Are you saying alcohol is not addictive?
No, I am saying that most of the persons that are on these roads committing the carnage, it is not because they are addicted. It is because they are not responsible for themselves.
You are moving, but that is not wrong. I'm not even saying that is wrong. I'm saying knowing that we know this, is that you as a responsible party who has a license to sell liquor, who also has an agreement.
Should they be more responsible? Let me just in case you misunderstand me. Should they be more responsible? Yes. But the burden of the responsibility should come from the individual themselves.
And when
that's what I'm saying.
And we spent 17 minutes and when I disagree. So look here, but I'm still saying because the two are Tarian and they're not done today and somebody need to go home. Right, listen, we woke up in a Tarian situation and I'm going to give way. It's a serious Tarian situation. But I'm still saying as I give way because how I'm going to say this now and lock off the mic. I'm me controlling the mic right so. The liquor company, let me turn off your mic first. The liquor company has a responsibility to the... Hello? The liquor company has a responsibility to the patrons. Come in, what's your name? Come in, Augustus Pablo. I'll take care of this.
Like, share, subscribe, share to your grandmother, your grandfather, your loved ones in your yard, the cat and the dog, yard and abroad. How are they under my nose? I'm out.
One Uptown TV. Yo, enough there, me I represent. Bang.
Being representing a man for Uptown TV.
Bad we bad, Gaza bad we bad. Bad we bad, Gaza.